Whenever a new DLC update comes out for Smash Ultimate, people often make their tier lists way too quickly and rank the new characters before actually playing them. But today I'm going to make the only tier list that matters. How much money do they have in the bank? Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Questions Nobody Asked. Today the question we're going to be answering is, which Smash Bros character is the wealthiest? Actually, you know what, looking at this footage, this light's going to shine off my glasses, so I only put them on to look smart anyway. So I don't have time to explain each and every character in great detail, so you're just going to have to trust me for some of this. Let's quickly get out of the way all the fighters that can't own property, so that's most of the Pokemon, Duck Hunt Dog, Rob and Mega Man, they count as property, and I guess Piranha Plant too, he's a plant. Don't think he even understands what money is. If we move to F tier, Olimar's our first pick. He might have a job, but he's basically got no money and all his property is owned by his boss, who's constantly in debt. Kirby, he just takes what he needs when he needs it. He doesn't understand what money is, he probably doesn't even own his house, he's a squatter. Diddy doesn't really own anything either, he's not in debt and he does own some gadgets, so he comes a little higher. The Pits also don't need money, they serve Palutena and Dedede as servants respectively, so they get what they need to be comfortable, but I wouldn't say they actually own it. And at the top of this tier is Young Link. He doesn't own his house, that's the Deku Tree, but he owns a pretty nice ocarina and a horse, so top of F tier. Now the characters in E tier also don't own their houses, or if they do, they're mostly shacks. Ice Climbers come in bottom, their house is made of ice, where's the value in that? Banjo and Kazooie's appearance looks like it's going to come after Tooie, but before Nuts and Bolts, so their house is probably kind of destroyed right now. But they can survive comfortably after Tooie and before Nuts and Bolts. Now, DK's got a tiny shack, and one day he will inherit DK Island, but for now his father Cranky still owns it. Sheik is Princess Zelda, but this is in a timeline where she's lost all of her kingdom. She probably has some expensive jewellery or trinkets somewhere, and a nice harp, but that's about it. Shulk's a salvage collector, so not really much money in that, but hey, a job's a job. Now, Red still lives with his mum, but he can earn a decent amount of cash through battles. Leaf's the same, but she gave up after one game. Our newest DLC, Min Min, gets in here. She's 18 and still lives with her parents, but she has a job fighting to help promote the family business. However, this probably means she isn't getting much sponsorship money, and the money she does get is likely going to her parents, not to herself. Given how he disappears from the stage when playing as him, Toon Link is probably the Spirit Tracks version, so he lives with an old man, but he owns a train, and that's gotta be worth something. Ness and Joker are pretty comparable. Both use IRL money and don't own a lot of property, and in fact, when you use conversion rates, their max money is around the same. However, we'll give Joker slightly more from his heists. Lucas, however, is a bit trickier. He has DP, not dollars, but if we compare the cost of items and his max money with Ness, then we can see he comes out on top. And rounding out E tier, we have Bowser Jr. His father's rich, but Bowser Sr. isn't dying anytime soon, so Jr.'s gotta wait a while to get that inheritance. However, he's a bit of a spoilt brat, and his dad likely gives him whatever he wants, so he's at the top of this tier. Oh, actually, I forgot the Koopalings. I'm not too sure where to put them. They're not actually Bowser's children, but he is like their surrogate dad, so they'll probably be a little lower than Junior. Characters in D tier have at least part ownership of some property, and at least a semi-regular income. Mr. Game & Watch has had loads of jobs, including firefighter, street performer, manhole coverer. Yeah, I forgot the name. Alf has a job, he's an engineer, though his planet seems kind of deprived. Like Sheik, Lucina's a princess in a ruined future, but she does still have an army. By the end of their games, both Erdrick and Solo end up owning houses, and I'm going to assume they continue adventuring for money. Link in Breath of the Wild can own his own house, as well as many horses. Pac-Man, he's got a home and he can support his wife and 2 kids. The Luminari's slightly higher than the previous 2 heroes, as he owns his house and he can support his wife. But also he does have a royal title, even if his father's kingdom's gone. Sonic does have a house, thanks Secret Rings, and he also owns a plane, even if Tails is mostly the one to pilot it. He's done some work for the government, though we're not too sure if he's actually getting paid for this. Ryu and Terry get their primary source of income from sponsorship and prize money, but neither seem to be much for material possessions, with Terry often hitchhiking to events. Though, Terry also can support his surrogate son, so we're going to say he edges this out slightly. Since he comes with his Advent Children alt, Cloud's job is now a deliveryman. He runs his own delivery business, out of his friend's bar, sure, but that puts him at the high end of this tier. Ike's the leader of a mercenary group, and at one point he was employed as the bodyguard to royalty, but after his game he's never heard of again, so he's probably gone off to live a quiet life of little renown somewhere. And that's D tier. For C tier, the characters here either have notable assets or a regular job, and they should at least own their house. Sometimes we're going to have to guess here though, as not everything's explicitly stated in their games. Rosalina definitely owns her own house, and it's fairly fancy. Though she doesn't appear to have any way to earn money, she probably does have a lot of savings. However, the Comet Observatory might not have the value you'd think, as it's basically useless without its magic fuel. Muta in Smash is based off his anime counterpart, who owns an island. Isabelle has a steady job as the mayor's secretary. We don't know if she owns a home, as she basically lives in the town hall. Wii Fit Trainer appears to have a successful career as a fitness coach, even owning their own studio. Now, it's speculation, but I'm going to assume they own their own house, probably on Woohoo Island. We're going to put the male trainer slightly higher here, as the gender pay gap is still a very real thing, so he probably charges more. The villager is the mayor of a town, and once he's paid off his debt, he owns a house. Now, compared to some of the other jobs here, mayor might not be the most well-paying job, but it's still decent. Inkling is probably agent-free. They're a secret agent. They live in a fairly expensive city too, even if we don't see their home. Like Kirby, Dark Samus has no need for money. With her mind control powers, she can just take whatever she wants when she wants it. But at her peak, she did basically own a planet, even if it was an uninhabitable one. Robin's a pretty high-ranking official in Crom's army, and we're going to give female Robin slightly more points here, as potentially she can marry into the position of queen. The Belmonts appear to be a fairly wealthy family. We can see they have a family graveyard, if that's any indication. Richter is considered to be the stronger hunter in the lore, so we're going to assume that means more adventures, more money, higher ranked. Byleth is a teacher, come commander/tactician, but in some endings they can become the ruler of a religion and own a monastery. As with Robin, female Byleth is going to rank higher here, as she can marry all three leaders to become royalty, whereas male Byleth can only marry Edelgard or Petra for this. But these are all dependent on specific routes, so they keep Byleth out of B tier. B tier characters are undeniably rich. Little Mac gets in here. Why is he above you and Terry? Because boxing's a more globally recognised sport, and he's the world champion. He's beaten Mike Tyson, and comfortably retired with a museum exhibit all about him. He's probably off living the good life in an expensive penthouse somewhere. Bayonetta doesn't exactly need money. She lives the life of luxury though, and she does actually pay when she goes shopping. Just look at her in the ending of Bayo 2, and this will tell you all you need to know. Meta Knight has an army.
I have an army.
And a massive battleship. Mario has a modest house in Paper Mario, and he also owns a small castle in the Mario Land games. He can collect loads of coins throughout his games, but given how they seem to be more and more prevalent in recent titles, there's some serious hyperinflation going on in the Mushroom Kingdom. Dr. Mario is just Mario having faked his medical degree. So he gets one position higher, as I guess a fake medical degree is probably worth more than no fake medical degree. Falco and Fox are part of Team Star Fox. They own spaceships and work as mercenaries. They also charge a high fee, but the army will still pay them. They're not ranked higher than this, as a lot of the money they earn goes towards the debts of the original Team Star Fox. Fox ranks higher as he's the leader, so he probably gets a larger cut. Snake's constantly retiring from being a mercenary, then coming back. Fun fact, during one of his retirements, he owned 50 huskies.
Right now, my 50 huskies are my only family. I've got to take care of them.
Now, Samus is a mercenary who's owned multiple gunships and some pretty expensive power armour. And unlike Team Star Fox, she doesn't split her profits, and she doesn't have any debt to pay off. Luigi has a mansion and a hotel to his name. Both of these appear to be bigger than his brother's castle. Okay, so Luigi doesn't actually own the hotel, which is incredibly unfair given that he was the one to pay to rebuild it. We won't stand for this injustice here, so he's keeping his spot in the tier list right here. Ken's from a very wealthy family, though it's unclear how much of this wealth is actually his and how much is his family's. Though I've got multiple sources claiming his job to be a hotel business tycoon. Wolf leads Team Star Wolf. I'm putting him a little bit ahead of Team Star Fox, as he doesn't have the same debts, his spaceships are more advanced, and he's less choosy about the missions he goes on. And at the top of our rich tier, we have Yoshi. Okay, sure, he may claim these trees here are his home, and maybe that's fooled the Mushroom Kingdom tax inspectors, but we know he has a second home on another planet, and that's where he's hiding all his money. The next tier up are the 0.01%, the mega rich. They own vast amounts of land and have more money than anyone reasonably needs. Our boy Roy just makes it into this tier. He's not a prince by birth, but he is still a lord, and by his epilogue he inherits the title of Marquis Ferre, which includes the large territory of Ferre and a castle. In one of his endings, he can marry the new Queen of Lycia, expanding his wealth even further. 8 ranks significantly higher than the other heroes. This is because he's actually the rightful king of Argonia, and in the true ending of the original game, he can marry the heir to Tradaine. It's unclear what exactly he owns, and if he will challenge Charmley for the throne, but being part of 2 royal families has got to count for quite a bit there. Corin is a messy one. They've potentially got claims to 3 separate royal families and all the territories that come with it. Further still, Corin can become an outright king or queen in one of the 3 routes. As with other Fire Emblem avatars, the female one is going to rank higher here, as she has a better chance of marrying to higher status. King Dedede is only really a royal by name, as the actual authenticity of his rule is questionable at best. But he does still own several castles all throughout the planet Popstar. He owns a tropical resort, and like many antagonists, he commands a near limitless army. It seems strange for Captain Falcon to be this high. Sure, he might get a decent wage from being a bounty hunter and an elite racer, but the real wealth comes from his archipelago of islands that he privately owns, and each has its own racetrack for him to practice on. Ganondorf in Smash is from Ocarina of Time. Now, at his peak in Ocarina of Time, Ganondorf was the king of Hyrule, albeit a desolate Hyrule. He owned the castle, he subjugated its people, and he was also king of the Gerudo. Zelda ranks slightly higher than him, due to her version of Hyrule being a lot more prosperous. Let's go through a list of what King K. Rool owns, shall we? He's got a pirate ship, an airship, he's got an island, a castle, a robot, an army, the Northern Tremisphere. He's also the ruler of an entire race. He might not actually be a king, but he certainly can afford to live like one. Ridley is a very high-ranking space pirate, with a mothership at his command, his own lair, and very fancy gothic room. In fact, in some media, Ridley is portrayed as the overall leader of the space pirates. These pirates operate and own territory throughout the galaxy, and if we were certain of him being the leader, he would probably rank even higher. Marth is the king of Arcanea, which is actually 7 kingdoms combined into one. Crom is the king of Elise, which is one of Marth's kingdoms, plus 2 more. And finally, we get onto S tier, our top 5. Coming in 5th place is Princess Daisy, or should I say Empress Daisy, as Ceresaland is actually 4 different kingdoms. Judging the size of these kingdoms is quite tricky, but we know that the kingdoms of Ceresaland are geographically next to each other, and when you look at the climates that they contain, this must be a vast amount of land. And the kingdoms of Ulysses, some of them are kind of quite small. Daisy also owns her own cruise liner and seaside resort. Just above Daisy is another princess who's also a queen in all but title, Peach. We see vastly different mushroom kingdoms from game to game, yet it's still Peach owning all of them. Her territories range from snowy landscapes to deserts to jungles, and even volcanoes. It might just be one kingdom, but it's far bigger than Daisy's 4. Coming up in 3rd place is Palutena. She hasn't had many appearances, and what appearances she has have been a bit conflicting. But she is the ruler of Skyworld, which is one of the 3 realms. And I mean that in the more magical sense, so basically comparable to an entire planet. She's literally a god and even has a temple to her. So if you want to know where she gets her money from, that's my bet. Palutena may be a god, but in the words of the great Jay-Z and Kanye West song, what's a god to a non-believer who don't believe in anything? Well, actually, that's not quite fair. Wario does believe in one thing: money. Wario has owned a gold mine, 2 stadiums, a video game company, a castle, a shipyard, and these alone would all make him a candidate for this tier. But what really pushes him up here is that he can also own a planet. And lastly, in our number 1 spot, which really should be its own tier, we have the King Koopa himself, Bowser. Now, maybe you're a bit surprised to see him up here. To which I say, have you seen the rest of this video? He's literally the only character left. Bowser's Kingdom can officially be called as such, thanks to Odyssey, but that's not where his real money comes from. Think how many times he's been defeated by Mario and had to rebuild airships, fortresses or castles. Think of all the different gadgets he's used in well over 100 games. But the real cherry on top of this cake is found in the Galaxy games. He has a fleet of spaceships powerful enough to take over the galaxy. He has space stations that can create stars, can create dark matter, and can even create whole galaxies. He's like a supercharged reptilian Elon Musk. Actually... No, I'm not gonna... Although you've never seen them in the same room, have you? Alright, I think I've covered everyone until the next DLCs come out, so subscribe for more content like this. And until next time,